by the DOT. I think our best case scenario is that we would issue the IFB in September. We would get bids back in early October, and then at the October board meeting, the board would approve both the bid and the MOU with the funder. We would sort of do those combined, and then service could start as early as December 1st. There's a lot of things that could sort of go wrong with that timeline, and extending it and starting either like in the middle of January or in February, depending on what those delays are. But we don't want to start it, the end of December or like right at the beginning of the new year. So that's the general plan. Are there any questions about that, or people want to dive into either the schedule or the IFB?
Mike, I was just thinking, an RFP, why is an RFP necessary if we have a designated funder?
So because Johnson wasn't able to add it onto his route, that what we're going to be paying for, because there is still federal and state funds with it, you have to bid that project out.
Yeah. Well, what happens if they don't win?
Well, Johnson.
Oh, it's going to be bid out to somebody other than Johnson.
Yeah. So initially we had asked if he would be willing to do it, but he didn't have the drivers to be able to add that route on, because that would have certainly been the easiest and probably most beneficial way for us to go about this. But he wasn't able to commit to that, which kind of put us in the.
I was under the impression that those that were going to supply the funding were also going to choose those that were going to provide the service.
Yeah, no, so we can't do that.
Okay, that works.
And the general question I had, Mike, I did take a quick look at the RFP this morning, and maybe I missed it in there, but we're not describing in the RFP routes, or how are we? We're just looking for a contractor, and then we're going to assign them routes in the future?
So there is one of the appendices shows both the currently run as well as the proposed extended hours.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it then. Yeah, okay.
I do, in general sense, worry about I think, like, because of all the legal language that we're required to put in, it's a super lengthy contract that it's like you have to notice on page 104, 105, for example. I'm not sure if those are the exact pages. Like, that's where the real piece of it is, and there's a lot of other stuff. So I do have concerns that other people are going to miss what is, in essence, the most important part, as you point out.
But this is, we've contracted. I know there's a lot of legalness that we have to go through in order for the federal funding to follow this, but and again, I just don't know who this gets opened up to, but I think what you're looking for here is not so much a bus transportation company, but could be an Uber driver or a smaller company that's willing to comply with the federal standards. Is that more accurate, or?
So it still has to be under mass transportation for the 5311 fund. So it does have to be transportation. It has to be a bus that meets like our standard route specs and things like that. So it can't really be like an Uber driver or a van or anything like that. It has to meet the DOT standards for mass transportation, which are different.
So they would be driving our buses?
No. So what is different about this contract is because it's only the one route and for specific hours, they would need to have essentially one bus that they could allocate to the route, as well as a backup if something were to occur. So that falls on whoever we contract out to. So the layout of the bid in terms of how they bid is a little bit different as well, since it'll just be that one price per mile.
Okay.
I thought that it seemed risky to have two different operators driving our buses, because there'd be hard to have accountability. So it seemed simpler as a pilot is that the new operator would just have their own equipment, and that way we wouldn't sort of intermingle who was driving what.
It takes some of the additional legal stuff out of it as well if we do it this way.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe a stupid question. The RFP, service starts December 1, does it have an ending period?
So it would end when the contract period ends. So it's 1 year with two 1-year extensions. So if the contract is signed on, let's just pick a date here and say October 31st, that contract would end then on October 31st as well of the following year.
Thank you.
So the next key steps will be is that when we'll get our feedback from the DOT, we'll issue the IFB, and then we'll have a date where we sort of get all the responses, and we'll have to review and select one. And then if everything is on track, we would get the responses around the 6th. In which case, if we wanted to get approval by the full board for that October meeting, we would need a special county government meeting and a special finance to approve it in lieu of, in the lead up to that meeting, where we'd again approve both the bid and the MOU in tandem. There would sort of have some sort of contingency that they both operate together. We'd advance that in the October meeting. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
Fine. I've got a couple other questions that may pertain to this, but may go along with the second agenda item that I think we should do in executive session. So, if you're ready, I would make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the renewal of the contract.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? Okay. Let's go into executive session. Oswaldo, let us know when you're ready. All right, that concludes that section. Is there any other new business or other business that people want to discuss? Okay, thanks. I'll motion to end the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. That concludes our meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey,
Okay.
Michael, can you
Yes.
stay on a second, Michael?